Hello, people. This is the Line in Zion coming at you live, unfiltered, untamed, unscripted. Today is a somber day for a lot of people, especially the Jewish people. It's the Yom HaShoah, or Holocaust Remembrance Day, where 6 million, I'm not sure if it's 6000000 or maybe a couple of 6 million and 10 or 5 million. With the haters out there that they like to get on these points. But basically, this is a day where we remember the 6 million Jews that were mass murdered in 6 years in Europe, in the cradle of civilization. One of the most enlightened countries, nations at that time, Germany. They had Hegel and Nietzsche and Beethoven, but they also have the Goebbels and the Hitlers. People tertiated, 1 out of every 3 Jews. Assembly line genocide. I've had 20 episodes thus far, and none of them really dedicated wholly to dealing with anything to do with the Shoah. But I think this is appropriate. As the years go by, less and less survivors, firsthand witnesses are around. And we already start seeing, with them still alive, people denying it. So can you imagine what's going to be in 20 years? One good thing Spielberg did was get all that archived, tens of thousands of firsthand account witnesses. So at least in this situation, we at least have the pixels and the Polaroids to show. Not that it will make a difference to the vile haters, but for posterity, it will be there in archive. How could it happen? It was predicted. Jabotinsky, Benzion Netanyahu, the revisionists in general, Herzl. That's when he saw what was going on with Dreyfus, he saw this coming. It wasn't unpredictable, but the scale and the world's reaction to it, quiet. Nobody said anything. As I've said previously, I don't really care very much when the world screams at Israel for defending Jewish blood. What scares me is when the world's silent. That silence, that usually comes with Jewish blood on the streets. On Yom HaShoah, one of the things that, the new generation of Jews are sort of getting pounded into their brain is that we're such clever, conniving Jews that we can't even have our tragedies, right? Because we utilize them and we leverage them for sympathy in order to, get our clever schemes. That's what we saw in 10/7. Believe all women except if they're Jewish. And we're seeing this with the Holocaust. People don't want to hear it. Well, never in history has there been an assembly line genocide on this scale done in a civilized society with so many of its citizens and people who are productive and in an emancipated, continent, for that to be the result, the final solution. People like to say that the Holocaust is the reason why Israel exists. That is a total fallacy. We had in Israel already existed the League of Nations, the Balfour Declaration, the Peel. You already had labor unions in kibbutzim. You already had the Shomer Hatzair, like Jewish defense. That was already the precursor to the Haganah. These all already existed pre the 30s even. All the Holocaust did was, in my opinion, fast forward, hyperize the time. People saw how clear, from just a practical, pragmatic perspective, how the Jews really did need their own sovereign state to protect themselves. When you're sitting in the face of the crimes that happened from 1938 to 1945, but really from 1933 and those Nuremberg laws and the lead up to these this program of annihilation. And nobody could really, with any sense, could really stand in the way of a Jew saying at that period of time, I think we need a state of our own. So it just made it quicker with higher degree of consensus, but it was going to happen. Israel was way on its way to being created. In Israel, today, the Holocaust Remembrance Day has a bit of a different feel when we're in the midst of a 1.5-year war, where we've seen the world's reaction to it on November 8th, and subsequently the reaction of the European power elites, the Western intelligentsia, the podcasting and the right wing turning towards a Lindbergh 2.0 isolationist, non-interventionist type of Father Coughlin Jew hate. We are realizing how lucky we are we have a state. In that window of time where anti-Semitism was abated just a little bit, volume turned down just a little bit, there was a little bit more shame because of the magnitude of those crimes in World War II is wearing thin, wearing off. But we managed to scrape together a state, and thank God. One of the worst forms of anti-Semitism, as I mentioned in the beginning, is this idea that Jews utilize their suffering, they leverage their suffering in order to gain advantages. It's a sick kind of anti-Semitism. There's two other types and forms of anti-Semitism that I think are in this kind of league. The other is that Jews are very clever. And even that cleverness, that reason, that logic is Jewish. So even if a Jew makes a great argument, he's locked into that. That's Jewish intelligence. That's Jewish smarts. That's Jewish logic. So therefore, we're just puppets, not able to even use our words to be able to convince with compelling, reasoned, cogent, rational thought. And the third is which is to me what we're seeing, what you see the most. It's the most common. It's also what I find to be the slyest. Is that they define what the Jew is. They tell the Jew what the Jew is. Oh no, you're not a ethnicity. You're a religion. You're not a religion. You're just a race. Jews are this. Jews are that. This is what Judaism says. This is what Judaism means. This is what your book says. They don't tell us what we are. We tell them what we are. The idea that they're going to define who we are is so crazy, but so permissible. You see it everywhere. Once you understand that and you have a conversation, it's unbelievable. It opens up a lot of thought. And my response is always, you're not going to define me. You are not in a position to define me, nor do you even have somewhat close of the cultural proximity to even get close to make a definition. You will not define me. I just wanted to share these thoughts on Yom HaShoah. I hope that you guys are getting edified little by little. It's great to speak to you. Have a good day. Bye.